Question number 8. How do organizations reproduce? Before we discuss the mechanism by which living beings reproduce, let us ask a more basic question. Why do living beings reproduce? After all, reproduction is not essential to maintain the life of an individual, unlike the necessary life process like nutrition, excretion, or respiration. On the other hand, if an individual organization is going to produce more individuals, a large amount of its energy will be spent in the process. So why should an individual organizations waste energy on a process it does not require to stay alive? It would be interesting to talk about the possible answers in the classroom. Whatever the answer to this question, it is obvious that we observe organizations because they reproduce. If there were to be only one non-reproducing member noticed its existence, there is a lot of organizations belonging to a particular species that bring them to our notice. How do we can say that two different individual organizations belong to the same species? Generally, we say this because they look similar to one another. Thus, reproducing organizations produce new individuals that look very much like themselves. Do organs create exact copies of themselves? Organizations look similar as their body designs are similar. If body designs are to be similar, then the blueprints for these organizations should be similar. Thus, reproduction at its most basic level will include creating copies of the blueprints of body design. In class 9. We have studied that the chromosomes present into the nucleus of a cell have information for inheritance of features from present to next generation in the form of DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid molecules. The DNA present into the cell nucleus is the information source for producing proteins. If the information is different proteins will be synthesized. Different proteins will eventually become the cause of different body designs. Therefore, a basic event in a reproduction is the production of a DNA copy. Production of a DNA copy. Cells use chemical reactions to create copies of their DNA. These produce two copies of the DNA in a reproduction cell, and they will required to be separated from each other. However, keeping one of the DNA copy in the original cell and normally pushing the other one out would not work, because the copy pushed out would not contain any organization. Cellular structure for maintaining a life process, hence DNA copying is commenced by the liberation of an supporting cellular apparatus, and then the DNA copies separate each with its own cellular apparatus. Effectively a cell divides to produce two cells. Of course, these two cells are similar, but are they likely to be completely identical? The answer to this question will depend on how accurately the copying reactions involved take place. No biochemical reaction is completely reliable. Therefore, it is only to be accepted that the process of copying the DNA will have some changes each time. As a result, the DNA copies produced will be similar, but may not be absolutely identical to the original. Some of these variations might be so drastic that the new DNA copy it inherits cannot work with the cellular apparatus. Such a neuron cell will simply die. On the other hand, there could still be many other changes or variations in the DNA copies that would not cause such a drastic outcome. Thus, the surviving cells are similar to but somewhat different from each other. This inbuilt capacity for variation during reproduction is the basis for evolution, as we will learn in the next chapter. The importance of variation. Populations of living beings will fill well-defined places or niches in the ecosystem. Using their ability to reproduce during reproduction, the consistency of DNA copying is essential for the maintenance of body design features that permit the organizations to use that particular niche. Reproduction is therefore related to the stability of populations of species. However, niches can vary because of reasons beyond the control of the organization. So temperatures on Earth can increase or decrease. Water levels can change, or there could be meteorite hits to think of some examples. If a population of reproducing organizations were suited to a particular niche, and if the niche were changed drastically, the population could be wiped out. However, if some changes were to be present organizations in a few individual organizations in these populations, there would be some chance for them to stay alive. Thus, if there were a population of bacteria present in temperate waters, and if the temperature of water were to be increased by global warming, most of these bacteria would die, but the few variants would survive and grow further because they are resistant to heat. Variation is thus useful for the survival of species over time. Modes of reproduction used by signal organizations. Compare and contrast the waves in which yeast grows in the first case and how mold grows in the second case. Having discussed the context in which reproductive process work, let us now observe how different organizations really reproduce. The modes by which different organizations reproduce based on the body design of the organizations. Fission thus for unicellular organizations, fission or cell division results in the creation of new individuals. Various patterns of fission have been observed. Many protozoa and bacteria simply split into two equal halves during cell division. In organizations like amoeba, the splitting of the two cells in division can occur in any plane. Some unicellular organizations show somewhat more organizations of their bodies, such as are seen in leishmania, which cause kala ajar, which contain a whip-like structure at one end of the cell. In these organizations, binary fission takes place in a definite orientation in relation to these structures. Other unicellular organizations like the malaria parasite, Plasmodium, divide into many ductal cells by multiple fission. Simultaneously, on the other hand, yeast can put out small buds that separate and grow further, as we observed in activity 1. Fragmentation in multicellular organizations having relatively simple body design, simple reproductive methods can still work. For example, Spirogyra simply splits into smaller pieces upon maturation. These fragments or pieces grow into new individuals. Can we find out the reason for this based on what we observed in activity 4? This is not true for all multicellular organizations. They cannot simply reproduce cell by cell. Why is that? The reason is that, as we have seen, many multicellular organizations are not simply a random collection of cells. Specialized cells are organized as tissues, and tissues are organized into organs which then have to be kept at definite or different positions in the body. Cell by cell division would be impractical in such carefully organized situation. Multicellular organizations therefore require to use more complex webs of reproduction. A basic strategy involved in multicellular organizations is that various cell types perform various specialized functions. Following this basic pattern reproduction in these organizations is also the function of a specific cell type. How is reproduction to be achieved from a single cell type if the organizations itself having many cell types? The answer is that there must be a single type of a cell in the organizations that is able for growing, proliferating, and producing other cell types under the right circumstances. Regeneration, many fully differentiated organizations have the ability to produce new individual organizations from their own body parts. That is, if the individual is somehow broken up or cut into different pieces, many of these pieces grow into separate individuals. For example, simple animals like Planera and Hydra can be broken into a number of pieces, and each piece grows into a complete organizations. This is called as regeneration. Regeneration is carried out by a special type of cells. These cells proliferate and produce a large number of cells. From these cells, different cells undergo variations to become various cell types and tissues. These changes occur in an organized sequence referred to as development. However, regeneration is not similar as the reproduction, since various organizations would not generally depend on being cut up to be capable to reproduce. Budding organizations like Hydra use regenerative cells for reproduction in the budding process. In Hydra, a bud develops as an outgrowth because of repeated cell divisions at one specific site. These birds develop into teeny individuals and when become fully mature, detach from the parent body and produce new independent individuals. Vegetative propagation. There are various plants in which parts such as the root, stem, and leaves develop into new plants. Under some specific conditions, plants, unlike in most animals, can indeed use such a mode of reproduction. This property of vegetative propagation is used in methods like layering or grafting to produce many plants like roses, sugarcane, or grapes. For agriculture purposes, plants reproduced by vegetative propagation can bear flowers and fruits comparatively earlier than those produced from seeds. Such methods also make the propagation of plants possible, such as banana, orange, jasmine, and rose, that have lost the capacity to produce seeds. Another advantage of vegetative propagation is that all plants raised are genetically similar enough to the parent plant to contain all its characteristics. Similarly, birds produced in the notches along the leaf margin of bromeliad fall on the soil surface and gives rise to new plants. A spore formation, even in various simple multicellular organizations, specific reproductive organs can be identified. The thread-like structures that are produced on the bread in Activity 2 are the hypha of the bread mode rhizospores. They are not reproductive parts. On the other hand, the teeny blob on a stick structures also take part in reproduction. The blobs are spongy, which have cells or spores that can eventually grow and develop into new first individuals the spores are covered by thick walls that provide protection them until they come into contact with another moist surface and can start to grow. All the modes of reproduction that we have studied so far allow new generations to be produced from a single individual. This is called as a sexual reproduction. We are also familiar with modes of reproduction that depend on the involvement of two individuals before the creation of a new generation. Bulls cannot produce new calves alone, nor can hens produce new chickens alone. In such cases, males and females, both sexes, are needed to produce new generations. What is the importance of this sexual mode of reproduction? Are there any limitation of the sexual mode of reproduction which we have been studying above? Why the sexual mode of reproduction? The reproduction of two new cells from one involves copying of the DNA as well as of the cellular apparatus. The DNA copying mechanism, as we have observed cannot be completely accurate, and the resultant errors are a source of changes in populations of organizations. Every individual organizations cannot be saved by variations, but in a population, variations are important for ensuring the survival of the species. It would therefore make sense if organizations came up with reproductive modes that permitted more and more variations to be corrected. While DNA copying mechanisms are not absolutely accurate, they are precise enough to produce the generation of variation, a fairly slow process. If the DNA copying process were to be less accurate, many of the resultant DNA copies would not be capable to work with the cellular apparatus and would die. So, how can the mechanism of making variants be speeded up? Each new variation is generated in a DNA copy that already has variations accumulated from various generations. Thus, two various individuals in a population would have quite different patterns of accumulated variations. Since all of these variations are in living organizations, it is assumed that they do not contain any really bad effects. Coming variations from two or more individuals would thus produce new combinations of variants. Each combination would be novel since it would insist to various individuals. The sexual mode of reproduction incorporates such a process of combining DNA from two different individuals during reproduction. But this creates a major difficulty if each new generation is to be the combination of the DNA copies from two pre-existing individuals. Then each new generation will end up consisting twice the amount of DNA that the pre-existing generation had. This is just like to mess up the control of the cellular apparatus by the DNA. How many ways can we think of for solving this difficulty? We have studied earlier that as organizations become more complex, the specialization of tissue increases or become more complex. One solution that various multicellular organizations have found for the above mentioned problem is to have a special lineages of cells in a specialized organs in which only half the number of chromosomes and half the amount of DNA than the non-reproductive body cells. This is achieved by a process of cell division called meiosis. Thus, when these germ cells from two individuals combine during sexual reproduction to produce a surrogate, it leads to the reestablishment of the number of chromosomes and the DNA content in the new generation. If the zygote is to grow and develop into a whole organization which contains highly specialized tissues and organs. Then it has to consist sufficient stores of energy for during this. In very simple organizations, it is observed that the two germ cells are not very dissimilar to one or to one another, or may even be similar, but as the body designs or organizations become more complex, the germ cells also specialize. One German cell is large and have the food stores, while the other is smaller and likely to be as the male gamete, and the germ cell having the stored food is known as the female. As the female gamete, we shall study in the next few sections how the need to correct these two different types of gametes. Gametes creates the differences in the male and female reproductive organs, and in some cases differences in the bodies of the female and male organizations. Sexual reproduction in flowering plants. In Angiosperm, the reproductive parts are located in the flower. You have already learnt the different parts of a flower: petals, sepals, pistils, and stamens. Pistils and stamens are the reproductive parts of a flower, which contain the German cells. What possible functions could be sepals and petals serve? The flower may be in sexual papaya watermelon when it have either pistils or stamens, or bisexual hibiscus. Mustard even when it contains both the pistils and stamens. A stamen is the male reproductive part, and it gives pollen grains that are yellowish in color. You must have seen this yellowish powder that often sticks to our hands when we touch the stamen of a flower. Pistil is located in the center of a flower and is the female reproductive part. It is made of three parts. The swollen bottom part is called ovary. Middle elongated part is called style, and the terminal part, which may be sticky, is the stigma. The ovary have the ovules, and each ovule contains an egg cell. The male germ cell produced by pollen grain fuses with the female gamete present in the ovule. The fertilization or fusion of the germ cells gives us the zygote, which is able of growing into a new plant. Thus, the pollens need to be transferred from the stamen to the stigma. If this transfer of pollen happens in the same flower, it is referred to as self-pollination. On the other hand, if the pollen is transferred from one flower to another, it is called as cross-pollination. The transfer of pollen from one flower to another is occurred by agents such as wind, water, or animals. After the pollen transferred to a suitable stigma, it has to reach the female germ cells which are present in the ovary. For this, a tube grows out of the pollen grain and travels across the style to reach the ovary. After fertilization, the zygote divides several times to produce an embryo within the ovule. The ovule develops a tough covering and is gradually changed into a seed. Try and find out the advantage of a seed formation for the plant. The seed contains the embryo or future plant, which develops into a seedling under appropriate conditions. This process is called germination. Reproduction in human beings. So far, we have been talking about the variety of modes that various species use for reproduction. Let us now see at the species that we are most interested in, namely humans. What mode of reproduction do the humans use? A sexual mode of reproduction. How does this occur? Let us start at an apparently unrelated point. All of us now that as we become older, our bodies change. You have learned changes that take place in your body earlier in class 8. also. Our height changes from class 2nd to class 10th, and so does our weight sometimes too much. We acquire teeth, we even lose, and also old so called milk teeth, and acquire new ones. All of these are variations that can be grouped under the normal process of growth, in which the body becomes larger, but in earlier teenager years a whole new set of changes takes place that cannot be described simply by as body enlargement. Instead the body appearance changes, new features appear preparations change, and so do sensations. New sensations. So some of these changes are common to both girls and boys. We have started to notice thick hair growing in new parts of the body, such as armpits and the genital area between the things, which can also become darker in color. Thinner hair can also appear on arms and legs as well as on the face. The skin becomes oily frequently, and we might begin to develop we begin to be aware and conscious of both our own bodies and those of others in new ways. On the other hand, there are also changes occurring that are different between girls and boys. In girls, breast size starts to increase with a darkening of the skin of the nipples at the tips of the breast. Also, girls start to menstruate at around this time. Boys start to have new thick hair growth on the face, and their voices start to crack. Further, the penis occasionally starts to become enlarged and erect either at night or in daydreams. In daydreams, all of these changes occur slowly over a period of months and years. They do not occur all at the same time in one person, nor do they occur at an exact age. In some people, they happen quickly and early, while in others, they can occur slowly. Also, each change does not become complete quickly either. So, like thick hair on the face in boys first appears as a few scattered hairs, and only slowly does the growth begin to become uniform. Even so, all these changes represent differences between people, like that we have differently shaped noses. All of these changes are aspects of the sexual maturation of the body. Why does the body at this age show sexual maturation? We have discussed about the need for specialized cell types in multicellular bodies to carry out specific functions. The production of germ cells to participate in sexual reproduction in another specialized function, and we have observed that plants develop a special cell and tissue types to produce them. Animals like human beings also develop a special tissues for this purpose. However, while the body of the individual organizations is growing to its adult size, the resources of the body are mainly directed for forgetting of the reproductive tissues is not likely to be a major priority. Thus, as the rate of normal body growth starts to slow down, reproductive tissues starts to mature. This period during adolescence is known as puberty. So, how do all the changes that we have discussed link to the reproductive process? We must remember that the sexual mode of reproduction refers that germ cells from two individuals have to join together. This can occur by the external release of germ cells from the bodies of individuals, as occurs in flowering plants, or it can take place by two individuals joining their bodies together for internal transfer of germ cells for fission, as occurs in many animals. If animals are to participate in this process of mating, their state of sexual maturity must be identifiable by other individuals. Many changes during puberty, like new hair growth patterns, are signals that sexual maturation is occurring, whereas the actual transfer of germ cells between two people needs a special apparatus for the sexual act, such as the ability of the penis to become erect. In mammals, such as human beings, the baby is carried in the mother's body for a long period, and breastfed later. The female reproductive organs and the breast will need to mature to accommodate these possibilities. Let us study the systems involved in the process of sexual reproduction. Male reproductive system. The male reproductive system consists of portions which produce the germ cells and other portions that transfer the germ cells to the site of fertilization. The formation of germ cells or sperms occurs in the testes, which are present outside the abdominal cavity in scrotum, because sperm reproduction requires a lower temperature than the normal body temperature. We have studied the role of the taste in the hormone testosterone secretion in the earlier chapter. In addition to regulating the production of sperms, testosterone brings about changes in appearance observed in boys at the time of puberty. The sperm reduced are delivered through the vas deferens, which joins a tube coming from the urinary bladder. The urethra thus forms a common passage for both the urine and sperms across the path of the vas deferens glands, like the prostate and the seminal vesicles release their secretions so that the sperms are now in a fluid form, which makes their transport easier, and this fluid also gives nutrition to sperms. The sperms are tiny bodies containing mainly genetic material and a long tail that supports it to move towards the female germ cell. Female reproductive system. The eggs or female germ cells are made in the ovaries. They are also responsible for the generation of some hormones. See the figure and identify the organs of the female reproductive system. When a girl baby is born, the ovaries already have thousands of immature eggs in them. On reaching puberty, some of these begin to mature. One egg is formed every month by one of the ovaries. The egg is carried from the ovary to the womb across a thin oviduct or fallopian tube. The two oviducts unite into an elastic bag-like structure called the uterus. The uterus opens into the vagina by the cervix. The sperms enter through the vaginal passage during sexual intercourse. They move upwards the oviduct, where they may encounter the egg. The fertilized egg zygote starts dividing and form a ball of cells or embryo. The embryo is implanted in the lining of the uterus, where they continue to grow and develop organs to become fetus. We have studied in earlier sections that the mother's body is designed to undertake the development of the child. Hence, the uterus prepares itself every month to receive and nurture the growing child. The lining thickens and is richly supplied with blood vessels to nourish the growing embryo. The embryo gets nutrition from the mother's blood with the with the help of a specialized tissue, a tissue known as placenta. This is a disc. This is a disc which is embedded in the uterine wall. Uterine wall. It contains villi on the embryos side of the tissue. Tissue on the mother's side are blood spaces which surround the villi. This gives a large surface area for oxygen and glucose to pass from the mother to the embryo. The developing embryo will also produce waste substances which can be removed by transforming them into the mother's blood through the placenta. The development of the child inside the mother's body occurs approximately in 9 months. The child is born because of the rhythmic contractions of the muscles in the uterus. What happens when the egg is not fertilized? If the egg is not fertilized, it lives for about 1 day. As the ovary releases one egg every month, the uterus also prepares itself every month to get a fertilized egg. Thus, its lining becomes strong and thick. This would be needed for nurturing the embryo. If fertilization occurs now, however, this lining is not required any longer. So the lining slowly breaks and comes out through the vagina as mucus and blood. This cycle occurs roughly every month and is known as menstruation. It generally lasts for about 2 to 8 days. Reproductive health, as we have studied, the process of sexual maturation is gradual and occurs while normal body growth is still going on. Therefore, some degree of sexual maturation does not necessarily signifying that the mind or the body is ready for sexual acts or for bringing up and having children. How do we decide if the mind or the body is ready for this major responsibility? All of us are under many various kinds of pressures about these issues. There can be pressure from our friends for participating in various activities, whether we really want to or not. There can be pressure from families to get married and having children. There can be pressure from government agencies to avoid having children. In this situation, choice making can become very difficult. We must also think the possible health consequences of having sex. We have studied in class 9 that diseases can be transmitted from person to person in various waves. Since the sexual act is a very immediate connection of bodies, it is not surprising for us that the many diseases can be transmitted sexually. This include bacterial infections like gonorrhea and syphilis, and viral infections like warts and HIV/AIDS. Is it possible to prevent the transmission of these diseases during the sexual act? Using a covering known as condom for the penis during sex is helpful in the prevention of the transmission of many of these infections of some extent. The sexual act always has the potential to result in the pregnancy. Pregnancy will make major demands on the body and the mind of the woman, and if she is not ready for it, her health will be affected adversely. Therefore, various ways have been devised to avoid pregnancy. These contraceptive methods are grouped in a number of categories. One category is the formation of a mechanical barrier so that sperm cannot reach the egg. Condoms on the penis or similar O-rings worn in the vagina can help in this purpose. Another category of contraceptives works by changing the hormonal balance of the body so that eggs are not released and fertilization cannot take place. These drugs are commonly taken orally as pills. However, since they change hormonal balances, they can lead to side effects. To other contraceptive devices like the loop or the copper are kept in the uterus to prevent prevent pregnancy. Again, they can cause side effects because of the irritation of the uterus. If the vast differences in the male is in the male is blocked, sperm transfer will be checked. If the fallopian tube in the female is blocked, the egg will not be capable to reach the uterus. In both cases, fertilization will not occur. Surgical methods can be helpful to correct these blocks. Surgical methods are safe in the long run. If the surgery is not performed properly, it can cause infections and other problems. Surgery can also be used for removal of unwanted pregnancies. This may be missed by people who do not want to particular child, as observed in illegal sex selective absorption of female fetus. For a healthy society, the male-female sex ratio must be mentioned. Because of reckless female feticide, child sex ratio is declining at an alarming rate in some sections of our society. Although parental sex discrimination has been banned by law. We have studied earlier that reproduction is the process by which organizations increase their populations. The rates of death and birth in a given population will determine its size. Increasing human population is a cause for concern for many people. This is because an expanding population makes it difficult to improve everybody's living standard. However, if inequality in a society is the main reason for poor living standards, for many people, the size of the population is relatively unimportant. If we look around, what a most important reason can we identify for pure living standards?